You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another installment of the Dog Pound Podcast right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your May 7th, 2021 edition. Yes, we are back. Your source of North American sports coverage by sports fans for sports fans. Delivered to you right here in the beautiful Niagara region. You can find us on social media for updates and giveaways by following the podcast on Twitter at Armchair GM Pod, as well as this show's podcast at Dog Pound Podcast. As well, you can like us on Facebook and Instagram. You can check us out on many platforms, including Spreaker.com, the free Spreaker app, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and Deezer. Wherever you're getting your podcasts at, we are there by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. No, there's a lot there. And lastly, our beautiful user-friendly website, armchairgmsports.com, for all things regarding the network, including articles, podcast episodes, sponsors, and contributors as well. We got a brand new mobile app version of our website. Go and check that out as well. A lot better than just browsing the desktop version on your phone. Nothing's worse than that. But wherever is most convenient for you to listen to us, make sure you're checking us out, and please smash that subscribe button and like on whatever platform you're listening to us right now. As always, I'm one of your hosts of the Dog Pound Podcast. My name is Brandon Caputo. You can follow me on Twitter at Caputs13_AGM with a Canadian Z. And as always, on the IceDogs portion of the network, I am joined by my co-host and co-owner. He is Just Kyle51.
Hello.
You can follow him on Twitter, obviously, at Just Kyle51. Kyle, we're back. I know we're a bit rusty. We haven't talked about IceDogs in a couple of months. Obviously, we released that episode. Still no IceDogs hockey, and a couple months back, and now we get the news that the OHL will not be returning for the 2020-2021 season, and we look forward to the fall for the start of the 2021-2022 season. But obviously, by the thumbnail of today, we have the return of the general manager of the Niagara IceDogs, Mr. Joey Burke, to kind of discuss with us, kind of update us on what's going on with the organization and looking towards the OHL selection draft as well as the import draft. So excited to talk to Joey once again.
Friend of the show, Joey Burke, is coming back to the show, and I cannot be more excited because Joey is always a good talk. He's one of the good brothers there, Brandon, and I can't wait to talk to him about some IceDog hockey. Man, it's been too long since we've done an episode, but obviously with what's going on, it's kind of tough. I mean, me and Brandon can just come on here and twiddle our thumbs and talk about, random IceDog facts, but we want to make sure you guys up there, your listeners up there, are updated with everything that's going on IceDogs. So that's why we're bringing Joey in here, and things are starting to come around now, right? So I'm excited for this draft that's coming up. I'm excited for the import draft, and I'm just excited because it kind of looks like things are in the process of getting back to normal, so we can actually get back to the rink and get some IceDogs hockey again. It's been a while.
Yeah, basically, and I don't have that sound clip in the soundboard, but I do have this. We don't want to come on here and just talk crickets for like 45 minutes. Nobody wants that.
That's the sound. That's what's happening at the Meridian Center right now because nothing's going on over there.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to talk to him about the draft lottery that just happened, kind of get his thoughts on follow to that. I'm sure he's excited about back-to-back picks in the second round. So with that said, Kyle, I think we should just jump right into it and stop flapping our gums here and get down to the good stuff.
No one wants to hear us talk.
Yeah, I mean, we talked to Joey Burke apparently a month ago, according to you, but it was actually back in August. So just so you're
aware. I thought it was a month ago.
Yeah. That's an inside joke from the last time we interviewed Joey, where Kyle thought we interviewed him like a month ago, and it was actually like 3-4 months before that. But this whole year's been kind of just in a ball, but we're excited to kind of move forward here and look towards next season. So we'll do that with the interview with the general manager of the Niagara IceDogs, Mr. Joey Burke. Enjoy. Welcome to another edition of the Dog Pound Podcast right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. On today's episode, we are joined once again by the general manager of the Niagara IceDogs, Mr. Joey Burke. Joey, Brandon, and Kyle with you here. Thanks again for joining us on today's show to talk some IceDogs hockey with us once again. And it's actually been 8 months since we last spoke. I hope Kyle still doesn't think that it was only a month ago like he thought back in August. But wish we were talking on better circumstances, but the Ontario Hockey League officially canceled its season a few weeks ago. Just happy to have you back on, Joey. I know we wish we were talking about IceDogs hockey about to start, but that's not the case. But it's great to have you back on once again.
No, well, thank you guys very much, and really I'm glad to be back, and it's my pleasure, and certainly I don't blame you guys. I mean, really, the months have certainly started to blend together over the past year here, so even from my end, it's who knows whether it was 1 month or 8 months ago, but certainly I'm glad to be back on, that's for sure.
Oh, thanks a lot for that. And has it been important for you guys as a staff and just as an organization to stay in touch with the players, though it's been a tireless process, on what the coaching staff is expecting from them as far as training and preparation for next season, given the fact that you haven't seen them in person in over a year now?
Yeah, I mean, it really is, and certainly that's where the onus and the grind has primarily been on the players, and it's really become now, I mean, it's 14 months since we've played, and you know, this thing just keeps dragging on these guys, so it certainly does come down to a lot of communication, but at the same time, you know, during the process, at points, there really isn't a ton to update these guys on, so it's just certainly from our end, making sure they're doing everything in their power, you know, to make sure they come in as ready to go. And again, it's really become even more difficult when you look at the stay-at-home orders and the lockdowns. And I mean, you know, really all the credit to the players. I mean, these guys have set up makeshift gym scenarios in their garages. I mean, they're really doing absolutely everything they can. And really from our end, it's, you know we have a group of guys that are going to come back in the best shape of their lives and ready to hit the ground running, which is very exciting that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, as far as them as human beings as well, making sure that they're in good places, considering how obviously mentally tough this has been for all of us, not just athletes, but everyone in society, just making sure that they're okay in that regard as well.
Well, no kidding. And honestly, I really think that has become the most important aspect of it. And it's really, in Billy and I's phone conversations with all the players after the cancellation of the season, it's, you know, it really hits home that mentally this is draining on these guys more so than physically. And it's really, you know, their lives have been uprooted as everyone have, and, you know, their routines changed and everything of that nature. So it's really, you know, the longer it has gone on, it's become a grinding process mentally for these guys. But certainly what we've tried to relay to them is that the light at the end of the tunnel finally appears to be coming for us. I mean, these vaccine rollouts are going great, you know, so there's definitely a lot to be encouraged about, and we really just try and relay that to the players and make sure they're feeling as positive as possible.
And lastly about that, on a side note here, Joey, what does the Joey Burke quarantine workout regimen look like? And are you expecting the players to kind of follow suit with whatever that entails, or you hope they're doing a little bit more than that?
No, I'll tell you, if any of the players have been doing my workout routine, they'll be in a lot of trouble come training camp. So these guys better have been working harder than I have. But you know what? Really, it's become from my end, you know, as it is for everyone. This thing has dragged on so long. And I mean, mentally for me, you know, I'm happiest when I'm at the rink and when I'm busy and you know, we're working and doing trades and, you know, prepping for the draft and everything of that nature. So it's really, you know, from my end, well, the physicality certainly hasn't changed much. The mental side, it's draining on me, and boy, I can't wait to get back at it in August here.
Oh yeah, we're feeling the same way.
Yeah, I can certainly speak for myself and Brandon, who have been trying to. I mean, even during this COVID era, I've been trying to get to the gym, and it almost seemed like every other month, like the gyms would open, then they would close, and they would open with restrictions, and then they would close, and it was just, it takes a lot out on you.
Boy, does it ever, for sure.
But the season was delayed till December, then February, then put on hiatus for a few months before the decision was ultimately made to shut down. Just how much are you hoping that the league will hopefully make some exceptions in rule changes for next year? For example, to give those overage players who want to come back an opportunity that was not given to them for this year, anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, certainly from our end, that's something we would be incredibly interested in. I mean, we feel we've got a high-end group of 2000 players, that unfortunately had their last years of major junior ripped away from them. So, I mean, it's really something where, unfortunately, we don't expect that to be the case. And we really, I can't imagine a kind of a scenario where the league will allow it and where logistically it makes sense. But, I mean, you see the commissioner has mentioned it as a possibility in some media availability. So it's certainly something, we don't want to close the door on, while at the same time, we certainly don't want to get the hopes up of our 2000-born players when the reality of the situation is, likely we won't be able to bring any of them back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right.
And given the fact that there has been already so many players lost to the NHL and the AHL who may have been eligible to play in the OHL this season, do you think we might see more of that next year if taxi squads are still a thing in the NHL next year, and maybe a couple of those players that were fringe and maybe didn't have a place to go other than junior hockey or the NHL, if they're given an opportunity to play in the American Hockey League, for example, that might have a more of an impact on what you guys plan to do?
Well, for sure, Will. I mean, really, we're still kind of all waiting in bated breath, so to speak, a little bit on exactly how the process is going to work. And obviously, it was a much different year this year. But you look around the AHL and you have, 2002 players like Foreigner from Barrie, ripping it up and that sort of thing. So it's a question that's going to be, going to have to be addressed for sure. And then from our end, certainly the hope is that the San Jose Sharks feel that Daniil Gushkin could use a year in the OHL before putting him right up in the A for sure. But selfishly, outside of that, it's an issue that we're waiting to hear from the NHL exactly how things will work. But certainly we're confident as a league that we're going to return as strong as ever.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the competition level that might be worse for it, the pros and cons, or do you think that the whole possibility to give basically like a reset of the league and the OHL as far as everybody might be on an even playing field, starting over with having to develop new stars to fill shoes from guys that the league lost, and kind of a new opportunity for them as well?
Well, that's a great point. And you know what? It really is going to be exactly that. And we're telling all of our players, when we left this thing a year and a half ago, we're a young team searching for an identity, trying to claw our way back up. And now we're going to come back as a veteran team right away looking to make some noise. And I mean, it's a funny dynamic because, I mean, the timing of everything, the way we're going to come out of it is I truly believe we're going to turn a ton of heads. And it's really the league is going to be kind of flipped on its side a little bit here. And obviously there'll still be the Oshawas of the world that still have a very talented roster remaining and returning and that sort of thing. But it's really, it's going to be interesting. And there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of rookies coming into the league now. I mean, obviously from our end, we've got an unbelievably deep group of 04s that are now coming in as 17-year-old rookies, not 16-year-olds. So, I mean, it's a complete different dynamic there. A guy like Pano Fimis has just been chomping at the bit to get going, and boy, we can't wait to watch him explode onto the scene in the OHL. So there's certainly a lot of positives, and there's going to be a ton of parity around the league, and I honestly believe it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it should be for sure.
Yeah, we're so excited to see Pano go. Like, even talking to him last year, like just hearing the matureness in his voice and how he's going to take that into his game. I can't wait to see this kid go. He's just going to be that next level star.
And you know what? He really is. And it's funny because you can almost see it through the draft process and the interview process and that sort of thing. And it's, this young man really does have that extra edge, that extra level to him. I mean, he's so polished. He's so mature. He's so dedicated to his craft that, I mean, again, there's not a doubt in our mind that we've got a future star here. And again, just can't wait to finally get him on the ice for us.
Yeah. And speaking of future stars and just stars in the IceDogs organization in general here, before we move on to talking about what's next, just happy are you seeing the most recent IceDog alumni doing big things in the NHL this year with that next crop of great IceDogs that are going to do great things as well. For example, Jason Robertson right now is probably a Calder finalist. If not, if he wakes up a little bit more in the next couple of days, he could actually maybe pass. Sorry, I'm always forgetting his name
Bill
now.
Kirill Kaprizov.
Kirill Kaprizov. Nedeljkovic in Carolina stepping in big this year as well, and after being heavily relied upon, he looks like he's about to go playoff bound, as well as Akil Thomas and Tomasino showing major progress in the AHL level in their first year of pro hockey.
For sure. And you know what? It's funny you say that because really throughout our recruitment Zoom meetings and calls and all that kind of stuff this year. It's really, the old selling point of the alumni has almost shifted from always talking about Petrangelo and Dougie Hamilton to now J-Rob and Ned. So it's really, it's funny you say that, and it's great to see. From our end, obviously it's a situation, you look at Robertson and what he was able to do and lead the country in scoring with us, and was just such an unbelievably huge part of that team that it's really no surprise to see the success he's had. And then again, look at a guy like Ned, and it's he's a gamer and he's a scrapper, and he's a guy that cleared waivers at one point prior to the season, and I think it's clear that we're never going to see that happen from him again, and certainly he's a guy where the sky's the limit, and it's unbelievable to see the way he's caught on with Carolina this year, and we've loved watching his progress and watching his success. And again, it's a great testament to the culture and the program we've created here, and we always love to see these guys go on and achieve great things for sure.
Yeah, I'll never forget the Make 'em see Ned playoff thing we had going here. That was the greatest thing of all time.
Oh boy, that was exciting.
Yeah, and
that was a fun run.
And the red jerseys that were supposed to make a comeback this year, that would have been exciting as well. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get to more of our interview with the Niagara IceDogs general manager, Mr. Joey Burke, but we're going to have to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back to talk about that more. So stay right here. Be right back on the Dog Pound podcast and right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Come prop up on Thrive Fantasy this season. Thrive is a daily fantasy sports and esports app for player props. With Thrive, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus only on the top-tier athletes who have the biggest impact on the game. Choose between lineups of 5 or 10 players to build your daily lineups. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for both the over and the under based on the likelihood of it occurring. Hit the most props and rack up the most points to win a share of the prize pool. Thrive has over $20,000 in guaranteed prizes weekly and has awarded over $4 million to date. At the Armchair GM Sports Network, we have you covered. Use our promo code AGM Sports when you sign up today, and you'll receive an instant price match on your first deposit of $20 to $50. Again, the code is AGM Sports to receive the price match on your first deposit. Download the Thrive Fantasy app on the Apple or Google Play Store in both Canada and the United States, or by visiting their website at thrivefantasy.com for online betting. Sign up and prop up today with Thrive Fantasy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to part 2 of our interview today with Niagara IceDogs general manager, Mr. Joey Burke, kind of updating us on the organization and what's been going on since we last talked last August. So with that said, Kyle, take it away.
Yeah, we definitely did not talk the last month. I can rest everybody assured here. I don't remember that. So we had the OHL Draft lottery last night. Did you enjoy that? And do you think the league should make this a yearly thing, or just given the circumstances with how a season wasn't played, that it was only fair to have a lottery other than having the exact same order as the 2020 draft?
Yeah, certainly from our end, we did enjoy it. I thought it was a great show. I really did believe in a year like this, it almost became the only kind of fair way to make sure everyone kind of got a fair deal in this thing. So certainly from our end, I thought it was a unique but a smart idea from the league's end. I thought it was implemented well, but certainly having said that, moving forward, it's definitely not something we would want, to become a tradition, so to speak, in the league. I mean, it's really, we're so different from the NHL and leagues like that it's, there's really, you don't see the intentional tanking, so to speak, and all that kind of stuff. So it honestly becomes, in a traditional year, I feel it would be unfair to have things shake out not in the favor of the younger teams towards the bottom of the standings. But certainly having said that, in a year like this, it really was a lot of fun. It seemed to generate a ton of positive buzz, and it set us up really, most importantly, very well for the draft at the end of the day. So we're certainly, quite happy with the results.
Yeah, I mean, we needed something, so I guess an OHL draft lottery was enough to suffice. But I mean, with that said, I mean, the NHL's even trying to change their rules too, because I think that they've kind of understood that teams that just missed the playoffs and the fringe playoff teams really shouldn't be able to jump up to the top 3 spots and overtake some of those teams that are really in trouble.
Yeah, no, exactly, and certainly I think it's something that if they're considering changing, it would probably be met with, with almost unanimous positivity, I would imagine. So It's certainly something from our end we're comfortable with the traditional process we have, and ideally we're able to return to that next season.
Absolutely. So although you don't have a first-round pick in this year's OHL priority selection draft, the lottery is still important for the ranking of the rest of your picks for the draft, and especially with the two picks that you had acquired from other teams actually being back-to-back as far as second-round picks. So just how excited are you with that and the pros and cons with that process?
Well, you know what? It became a dream scenario. And honestly, in the hours leading up to the lottery, I was almost kind of fantasizing that wouldn't it be amazing to get two back-to-back picks at the top of the second? And I mean, so when we saw Kitchener get pulled first, it was great. And then certainly, I obviously had the expectation we'd have to wait a little bit longer to see London. And then when their logo came up right away, it immediately became the dream scenario. I mean, to be able to go back-to-back, we've got a great grouping of guys that we're targeting in that range. There's not a doubt in our mind that these guys are first-round caliber guys. And, I mean, now we've got the added bonus of being able to take two of them back-to-back. So it really, at the end of the day, becomes the perfect scenario for us. We have two picks at 22 and 23. We're just on the outside of that first round. So it really, while we don't have a first, at the end of the day, it couldn't have shaken out any better for us for sure.
Yeah, hopefully there's another sibling you can take. The Burke brothers maybe are going to be available for back-to-back picks. So you're hoping that maybe something like that occurs.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There certainly aren't the twins like the LeBlanc brothers out of Niagara last season, unfortunately. So certainly, we may have to spread it around a little bit. But the positive thing is, I mean, we love our depth all over the ice. We love our young forward group, our D, and certainly our goaltending with the return of Tucker Tynan. So the positive that way is we're able really to target and take the best player available, which is always a great scenario to be in.
Mm-hmm. And some notable names that the IceDogs have picked in the second round over the years have been pretty impressive. I mean, Billy Constantino, Chris Paquette, Carter Verhaeghe, Anthony DeFruscia, Dougie Hamilton, Alex Friesen, and just how going forward do you see the two second round picks essentially being your first picks in the draft, and kind of how confident are you that you guys can kind of continue that trend with good second round selections?
Yeah, we're extremely confident. And I mean, the funny thing is, in a year like this, obviously it hasn't been an ideal season in terms of scouting. There's been no games to watch. It's been all on video and bantam and showcases and things of that nature. So it's really, it's been incredibly odd that way. It also allows for a lot of guys to slip through the cracks. And, if there are teams that just didn't happen to be at these certain showcases, then they won't have any reports on these certain players. So, I mean, it really becomes an interesting year that way, where we've got the guys that we are extremely confident are first rounders, but I just know for a fact that there's other teams that won't have them on their radar, or they'll have differently narrowed down lists and things of that nature. So it really is, we're incredibly confident that at the top of the second round in a draft like this one, we're going to do incredibly well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. And to think too, like the NHL, their scouts are going by the players that went overseas and played a little bit over there. And what just happened yesterday, the end of the under 18s, where we saw a pretty good showcase from a lot of talent going in the draft this year and next. So it's going to be certainly a different kind of draft for not only the OHL, but the NHL this year as well.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And, it's a very similar thing at that level that I'm kind of speaking about for us. So, I mean, a perfect example is a guy like Isaac Enright, who's a no doubt NHL draft pick, but we haven't had a season. He would just didn't make the cut of the U18s. So he's a guy that's had no exposure this year. And I mean, there's not a doubt in my mind, he'll go in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round, and he's a third-round talent, if not better. So it's really, there's a lot of guys like that in our league, unfortunately, that are going to slip through the cracks a little bit and really become steals in the draft, in my opinion, and go rounds much later than they should, and all that kind of stuff. So it certainly becomes a funny year, but as we tell our guys, it's use it as motivation. And we really believe we have a couple O2s that would have been re-entry guys into the draft that obviously lost that opportunity. So it just becomes, for our guys, the timing of everything, and everything happens for a reason, and there's not a doubt in our mind whether all of our guys go, whether they don't. It's, we're confident we're going to turn a ton of heads next season, and certainly that becomes the most important thing from our end.
Right. Even just to name a popular name that's gone in the late draft, the one that comes to mind all the time for me is Henrik Zetterberg. The guy went 210th overall and ended up being one of the greatest Red Wings of all time. So it's these late round picks are, sometimes people kind of forget that, every draft pick matters in the draft, no matter where they're taken.
Oh, exactly. Absolutely, it does. And I mean, it's really, for other of our guys, I mean, you look at the other old threes with Landon Cato and Augustinelli, and it's, these guys we fully expected to take massive strides this year and be guys that would have been mid to late round targets. And unfortunately, they've lost their opportunity for that. But you're dead right. I mean, it becomes these late round picks at the end of the day are so important. And it's the classic story where you'll see, guys go on to great success. So it really is, whether you're first round, whether you're seventh round, whether you're a free agent, at the end of the day, if you've got the drive and the talent to get there, things will shake out as they will, and you'll make it, on your own merit at the end of the day, for sure.
Speaking of draft picks, so Joey, you drafted Pano Fimis last year, second overall. We know how excited he was personally. We spoke to him last summer, as well as yourself, coaching staff and teammates, to get going with him, and the rest of the exciting crop of rookies who were projected to come in and have that big impact in the 2020 IceDogs season. Has this unprecedented layoff made you even more excited to see what it will look like to have essentially 2 drafts worth of players coming into an organization and looking to start at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely it will. And I mean, it really, as we were saying to the Fimises of the world and the Bryce Cooks and Leonards and these guys, that it's exactly that. They're now coming in as 17-year-old rookies with guys who are a year younger than them coming in as rookies to the same league, and they've never had that. So, I mean, certainly, a guy like Fimis to now have that extra edge to him, that extra kind of a year while he'll still be coming in as a rookie. He's coming in a year older, a year stronger, a year faster, more hungry, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it really, from our end, I think it's going to benefit us a ton. And then, I mean, really, you look around the league, there's certain teams that are going to have 11, 12 rookies. I mean, it's going to be unheard of when you have almost a double cohort year like we're going to have. So it's really, from our end, we're comfortable that we won't be quite as young as some of those teams, but really the young group we do have coming in is going to be exciting. And then certainly we're thrilled with the draft to be able to add a ton more. And I mean, again, we just couldn't be set up better with 2 picks in the second, 2 picks in the third, 2 picks in the fourth, really, and everything else. So it's certainly shaping up to be an exciting young group for us, combined with the returning veterans we have. It's really, at this point, it's just been a long 14 months, and we can't wait to get going here.
Now, do you think that makes for some challenges maybe for the coaching staff, knowing that there's a lot more new guys coming into the organization more than normal years, where they may essentially be double the bodies looking to fill a lot of the spots?
Well, for sure there will. And it just all breeds that there'll be an extremely high level of competition at camp, and nothing is given and nothing can be taken for granted. We're going to have a lot of returning guys lose their spots to young guys. We'll have a lot of young guys that tend to have eyes wide open and realize maybe they're a year away, and the pace is a bit quicker than they thought. So it's really, everything kind of always determines itself once you get everyone on the same ice, ahead of the season there. But it really, from our end, we're confident in the group that we feel will make up the core of the roster. And then again, there's always some surprises, but we welcome that and really just can't wait to see all these guys on the ice together here.
Right.
And Joey, as the GM, you would know more than anyone as far as the scouting side of things go, but just how different and maybe wide open is the 2021 OHL draft going to be, and even the priority draft as well, that was announced the other day, be given the factors that the draft-eligible players may not be playing or playing as much as we would see in the normal year, and the fact that the opportunity to scout these players has been extremely difficult or maybe even impossible in some cases, other than maybe some small amounts of tape.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's going to be an incredibly interesting year. I mean, number one, I'm adamant that, when things shake out 2-3 years down the road after this draft, we're going to see guys that go in the 7th to 10th round that should have been first, second round picks. And we're going to see first round picks that never shake out to be, what they were believed to be. And it's really just exactly as you alluded to, from the lack of games, the lack of viewings. I mean, as we all know, the minor midget draft year is such a year of growth for these young players that there will be guys who took tremendous strides this season in their development who went completely unnoticed and may go undrafted. I mean, it really becomes an incredibly difficult draft that way. Certainly, you have to believe the majority of teams would have some level of consistency among the top, 60 to 80 players type of a thing. But the orders will be all over the place just because there isn't a database of knowledge and viewings and all that kind of stuff. So certainly from our end, I think we might even have a leg up on most programs in the sense that we had a great stock on all these guys coming out of their bantam year. We've done such a great job working with the coaches to get video on absolutely everybody. Our scouts, the ones that were able to kind of remain with us through the whole process, have done a great job in canvassing everything. Vince Tarantino, our skills coach, works as the skills coach for really the majority of all the draft eligible guys and has done a great job, kind of reporting to us on the strengths and weaknesses and all that kind of stuff. So really, while it's not an ideal year, we certainly feel we've set ourselves up absolutely phenomenally, not only with the amount of picks we have, but with the knowledge we've gained, the skates we've canvassed and the players we've seen. There's not a doubt in my mind we're going to do a great job with it.
And obviously, without giving away too much about, what you guys are doing behind the scenes, but have you and your staff how have you guys been able to get things done in what has been a very difficult year and with difficult circumstances, just with the limitations that you guys have had to deal through? Just how have you guys been able to work through that as a staff and get yourselves kind of prepared for this?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been difficult and there's been a lot of challenges, throughout it. And again, the number one thing is just as a group, you can't get together and meet, and you can't get together and go through the list. And you really, other than the certain times throughout the past year, we can't even get together, 2 or 3 of us, to go watch a skate together. So it becomes different and more difficult that way. But certainly it's a challenge that we've risen to. And between myself, Billy, our head scout, Roger McLeod, Vince Tarantino, Brandon Curry, we've really done, a tremendous job canvassing every possible area that we can and working together to the point now where really our full organizational list is starting to take shape and we're ironing it out with about a month or so left to go here and we feel confident, but it's been difficult. The best part about the draft prep and the lead up and working with the scouts is the meetings and you get everyone in the same room and you're pounding the table and you're arguing and you're hashing out the order and all that kind of stuff, and we certainly have lost the opportunity to do that this year, while at the same time, the communication between myself and those guys has just been regiment. We talk basically every day on different things. And again, not a doubt in our mind that we'll have our ducks in a row and we'll be ready to go.
Good to hear.
So last question here for you, Joey. As we look ahead to that OHL draft in early June, without obviously giving anything away to other teams, how are you and your staff going to approach it?
Yeah, so certainly our number one thing is going to be best player available. So kind of as I alluded to earlier, we love the core setup we have everywhere on the ice. So it really becomes, we don't desperately need to address a massive need, which is never kind of the scenario you want to go into. We love and are comfortable with the group that we feel will be in the range. And from our end, to be able to take the best player available and to be able to take 2 of them back to back just becomes a dream come true. And whoever those names might be, I know for a fact they'll be excited to commit to Niagara right away, excited to get on the ice, and they'll come in and make a great impact for us right away for sure.
Yeah, I mean, are you guys kind of looking for best character fits of the culture as well? Obviously, you talked about best player available, but is that also a major thing as far as fitting in what you guys are trying to do as an organization and as a group here in Niagara and what it means to be an Ice Dog?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, it's really one of the old adages that we have when we're talking about character here in Niagara is that we would rather lose with winners than win with losers. And we don't want losers here. We don't want guys, when I say losers in the sense that the negativity or they're not focused on hockey or they're not here to be players and take it seriously and be good members of the community and good teammates. That's what we want. We really, believe that we're a big family here in Niagara. And once we add a player into our organization, into the family, we really harbor that environment and that atmosphere. And we want all the guys to work together. So again, you're exactly right. there's not a doubt in our mind that, one, it's going to be the player we want on the ice, but off the ice, he's going to be a great character and a great human being as well.
Awesome. Well, Joey, thanks so much again for taking the time to come on the show with us and chat once again. We wish we would be able to talk during the last 8 months about an OHL season, but we're just going to have to look forward to the fall and a hopeful start for the 2021-22 season. But I'm sure we'll talk again after the priority draft and the import draft in late June as well, and have a better idea what your team's going to look like. And we look forward to talking about the two exciting young crop of IceDog pups being welcomed into the Meridian Center later this fall, hopefully. So hopefully sooner rather than later, we get to talk to you. Be safe. Good luck with the draft process, and we'll talk again sometime in the summer.
Perfect. No, thank you guys very much as always, and again, my pleasure. And soon we'll just part with, you're dead right. Can't wait to be back. Can't wait to see you guys at the rink. Can't wait to pack the Meridian Center and get back on the ice and really work closer than ever. So no, thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Joey. Take care.
Take it easy, Joey.
And there you have it, folks. General Manager of the Niagara IceDogs, Mr. Joey Burke. Always much appreciated him taking time to come on and talk with us on the podcast, giving us a lot of great insight on what him and his staff are looking towards, and kind of just the general thoughts on how the team's doing, and kind of updating us on their physical health and mental health as well. I think that's very important to have both those aspects going in the right direction as we look towards the 2021-2022 season. And I know he's excited with the draft process and all that. And it was just great to hear some optimism and to kind of something to look forward to with the OHL. We had obviously the lottery and everything like that, but things are looking up hopefully for the Ontario Hockey League and Niagara IceDogs.
It's good to hear another voice sometimes, especially like nowadays, right? I'm glad we're getting back to some sort of normalcy where we can actually, where it's normal that you go and talk to someone. We've been stuck too much in this phase where we're not at the Meridian Center. We can't go around the corner and bump into Joey and be like, "Hey Joey, what's going on?" It's great that we can still talk to him in some manner. And that was thank you, Joey, for coming on every time that we do ask for you to come on. It's much appreciated by me and Brandon, and we're so humbled every time you do come on. So I'm glad we got to talk some IceDogs hockey, and I love the excitement in Joey's voice there. Like when you hear it when he talks about the draft and even the players that are drafted, that there is like a genuine love and the time and effort are put into these draft picks. So I cannot wait. It gets me excited. Yeah,
for sure. It was great to hear, and look towards the OHL draft and the priority, and the import draft in late June. So hopefully we'll be able to get him back on, July, August, somewhere around there, and look towards a OHL season and IceDog season come this fall. Hopefully the vaccine rollout goes well, and we can get fans back in the building and us back in the building. And like you said, it would actually be normal to have human interaction in person once again.
Yeah, I miss it, man. I miss being at the Meridian Center. I miss the roar of the crowd, because you IceDog fans are like the greatest fans in the OHL. It's not just a saying that we like to say in the Meridian Center, or Rob Mahood says it. It literally is legit. Like, we literally have the best fans in the OHL, and I really miss hearing the roar of the crowd, even for middle of the season, dog days game, where we're still packing 5,000 people in there, and the first goal of the game, it sounds like a playoff game. I do honestly miss that.
Yep, miss all that goes along with covering an OHL team, and especially here in Niagara, it's something special. So hopefully we'll be back with you guys sooner rather than later to have another episode. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, our special interview with GM Joey Burke, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your source for North American sports coverage by sports fans for sports fans, delivered to you right here in the beautiful Niagara region. As always, you can follow me on Twitter. My name is Brandon Caputo, at Caputs13_AGM. Almost forgot my own hashtag, Jesus. Almost forgot my own Twitter handle as I'm botching it. I got it. Caputs13_AGM. And as well, you can follow Kyle at just Kyle51, or not. You don't have to follow him.
I've been MIA from Twitter lately, so maybe don't.
And as always, a big thank you to all of the great sponsors who help put us on Sport the Network, keeping the show on the air. Make sure you're checking them out, telling them the Armchair GM sent you. And finally, to you viewers out there and IceDog fans for taking this time to listen along with us for this episode. It's been great insight from Joey as always. And once again, this is the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network by sports fans, for sports fans. Bark, bark, bark. Go Dogs, go. We'll see you guys again soon.